Good afternoon and welcome to K2's Road to Excellence with PowerPoint, Part 1 and our partner Intuit. This is Alan Salmon and I'm pleased that so many of you are with me today. As you're all aware, I will be dealing with PowerPoint, which is a favorite program of mine. But before we get into it, I have a couple of admin things that I must share with you. First of all, I'll be teaching in PowerPoint 2016, and there will be one time during the next 30 minutes when those of you on 2007, 10, and 13 will not be able to do what I'm doing, the way I'm doing it. You'll be able to do it a different way. My good friend Marilyn Benninger is backing me up as usual, and she is your go-to person for technical issues and for questions. Your microphones are muted for obvious reasons. When it comes to notes, you're welcome to take notes, but be aware, if this is your first time with me, that within 10 days of today, you will all get the recording of this webinar, my teaching notes, and my teaching files. In addition, you will get the answers to all of the questions that any of you ask, and I encourage you to do those through the chat window. Marilyn sends them to me after the webinar and I answer them. And when you get your recording, you'll get the questions and all of the answers. 4 times today, Marilyn's going to stop me and put up a polling question. That's a multiple choice with 4 answers. You don't have to get the question right, but you do have to select one of the 4 possible answers, because that timestamps your file, and we know that you're paying attention at that point in time. If you're recorded as being present for 3 of the 4 questions, you will get 1 hour of verifiable CPDs. If not, 1 hour of non-verifiables. Now on to PowerPoint, and I'm going to do something different that I have not done in any of the previous ones today. I'm going to run 2 very, very short videos. Now, if you are connected, if your audio is connected via your device, you don't have a problem. If you are connected via the phone thing, then you need to have the sound on your device on to hear the recording. So on that note, let's get to my introduction, which is this. So this is a PowerPoint that Microsoft provided me, and it deals with 3 basic concepts starting right here. And the concepts are: you need to author/create your presentation. You need to enrich it with visuals, with sound, with music, with videos, and then you need a vehicle to deliver it to your audience. And we're going to talk about the first one today and the start on enrich, and then when I do the second session in September, I'll take you a little farther along the road to PowerPoint expertise. So, author, design, organize, and collaborate. And the good news, as you're going to see this morning, is you don't have to start from scratch. There's a lot of help there to make you look good. And if you got too much information, you can divide your presentation into sections. Collaboration: if you're on Office 365, then Marilyn and I could work on a presentation together. Enrich it: you'll do that in a variety of ways, and that tends to strengthen your message. We can do picture effects. We can animate. We can introduce videos. We can recolor the video. If we want to jump to a bookmark, we can do it. And what you've seen as I move from slide to slide here is transitions, and I will touch on that towards the end of this presentation. So deliver it. How? Is it going to be live? Is it going to be recorded? All of those options are available to you. And you can add sound to the video. But there's more. With the PowerPoint web app, you can access the slides on your iPad, your smartphone, any device. So there we go. So Marilyn, it's time, please, to start the first poll before I get into it.
With pleasure. Good morning, folks, or good afternoon, depending on where you are across the country. We'd love to know what your experience is with PowerPoint. You may never have used it. Maybe you've tried, but you've had to give up. Maybe you want them to look a little bit more professional after having given it a try. Or maybe you're approaching that professional status, visual, sound, animations, and videos. We like to keep our polls open till we have about 90%, and we're right there. Thanks everyone for your responses. I'm going to be closing the poll now and showing the results. There you are, Alan.
Well, I see I've got the usual 6% pro with me. So let's then move on, Marilyn. There we go. So getting started. A couple of concepts, and this is really where I'm going to go today, is here. So the first piece is start. And I'm going to pretend I've got 10 minutes until my first presentation and show you very quickly how to create a basic one for those of you that have never done it. Then we'll clean things up. We want clean, concise, and consistent slides. And then we'll add the subtleties like transitions, like animations, and so on. And one tip at the very end. Now, before we even start, or before I start on a presentation, I don't go into PowerPoint. I do some thinking, and I may make notes, I may not. So what's the purpose? Are you trying to explain something? Are you trying to sell something? Because that will define your basic presentation. Who's the audience? So for example, if I'm doing one-on-one on the CEO, it's going to be a very different presentation. Different again if it's the executive committee. Difference again if it's got several hundred, as I've done many times with my live presentations. Or let's take today's case where at the moment there are 480 of you listening to my voice, and that will define also the presentation. Is there an accompanying report? Then I need to have a way of getting it to people. Will it be delivered live or recorded or done through a webinar? And there, for those of you that have seen me do live presentations, know I tend to be very interactive with the audience. I pick on people, and I'd love to be able to do that today, but we can't. So I'm restricted to polls and the survey at the end. So there we go. And now I want to start the first video. So give me a second to get it queued up here. Showing you is what we call the 5 rules for creating a video. And here we go.
Presentations are a powerful communication medium. For more than 20 years, Duarte has developed presentations to launch products, align employees, increase company value, and propel global causes. Along the way, we have discovered 5 simple rules for creating world-changing presentations. The first rule is, treat your audience as king. Your audience deserves to be treated like royalty. Design a presentation that meets their needs and not just yours. Audiences want to know what you can do for them, why they should adopt your view, and what are the steps they need to follow to take action. Give them those things in a clear, easily understandable way, and you will undoubtedly find favor with the king. The second rule is, spread ideas and move people. Your audience didn't show up to read your 60-page on-screen dissertation. They are there to see you, to be inspired by your message and witness the quality of your thought. You are not giving your presentation to have another meeting. You are there to convey meaning. So consider including imagery that powerfully illustrates your point. Sometimes moving images can inspire in a way that static slides cannot. A slow-moving animation creates a sense of nostalgia. A sequential build adds a sense of suspense. And a thought-provoking video moves your audience in a way that can not only change minds, but hearts. The next rule is, help them see what you're saying. Half of the people in your audience are verbal thinkers and the other half are visual. Combining minimal text with meaningful visuals means that you will reach everyone. Brainstorm graphics that will effectively communicate your message and then replace those words with a picture, a chart, or a diagram. Then apply a consistent treatment to your graphics to give your whole presentation a unified look so that your audience is attracted to, rather than distracted from, your message. Rule number 4, practice design, not decoration. As tempting as it is to fill your slides with stuff, often de-decorating is the best policy. Any writer or designer will tell you that 90% of the creative process is destructive. Do you have one main point? Consider putting just one word on the slide by itself. You want them to remember a few items? Then don't show everything at once. Instead, show one item at a time. Do you have a picture that accurately expresses your idea? Scale that picture so it fills the slide. Do you know a quote that says it all? Then let it say it and remove everything else. The last rule is, cultivate healthy relationships with your slides and your audience. Letting go is hard, we know, but don't hide behind your slides. Breaking your dependence on your slides can do a world of good for your relationship with the audience. Reduce the amount of text to just a few words and put the rest of the information in the notes, and then practice, practice, practice. Thinking of your slides as digital scenery allows you to connect eye to eye with your audience in a meaningful way. So, those are the rules, but the question remains, why go to all this trouble? Why not do it the way you're used to? The answer is simple. Because everyone else does it that way too, and you need to stand apart and be different. When you apply these rules and keep the audience's needs top of mind, your presentation will not only hold their attention, but also change the world. Well,
I hoped you liked that. It really does encompass the 5 rules of design. And you're probably thinking, I could never do that. And interestingly enough, with the exception of the visuals, that was all done in PowerPoint. And recognize that you're going to spend a lot more time designing your presentation than you are presenting it. So for example, for the half-hour mini webinars that I do all the time, I spend roughly an hour and a half getting them set up and so on. More on that to come. But it's time we jumped in and started doing an actual design. Now, I have entered some text here, and then I've got a title slide, and I've got that. When I started out, I had a blank slide, and I just started here and started typing. Then I went to new slide here, and I got those 8 or 9 options: title slide, title and content, section header, and so on. And for my next slide, I selected title and content. And just gonna copy this and paste it into here. So there, adding the title. And then I'm going to go here, and I'm only going to do these first 2, so I'm going to copy them. And notice there's my first bullet. And I'm going to make a change here. Okay. So notice that once I typed that and hit the enter key, it wanted me to add a bullet. Well, I wanted this one to be a second level bullet. So that wasn't difficult. All I did was hit the tab key. There we go. Now, if I want to get it back down here, because it will continuing doing this as far as I go, then I merely hold down the shift key, and there it is, the shift key and the tab key. And I'm going to delete this because I don't need it. There we go. So there's the first 2 slides, and I could continue, but I'm not going to bother. However, that is probably the ugliest looking presentation you've ever seen. So what can I do about it to jazz it up? Well, fortunately, a fair bit. So if I go to design, notice what I have across here. I've got some style sheets that I could use. And you notice as I hover over them, I get to see where we're going with it. So let's just pick one. That'll do for now. And you notice a couple of things that it automatically laid out the title, and it used similar background and similar colors. And you've got a lot of them. I can change the colors and I can change the fonts and effects. Now I want to show you something that's new in 2016, and that is this. If I go over here, and let me get the title, I have a new icon that you won't have in 2013, 10, and 7 called Design Ideas. And I click on it, and Microsoft now, why aren't you doing it? There we go. Will give me some designs like that. There we go. And notice now that there's the basic design, but over here, I got variants on it. So I'll do that one. Now, the only thing tricky about this is the fact that it only does one slide. So I will typically get one of these and then modify it. However, before I even go to that, if I'm doing something brand new, I may go to here. Now, that's a blank slide because I have to have something open. And I'm going to go to File, New. Well, that's interesting. Notice that I've got a whole bunch of designs here. And up here it says, search for online templates. So I'm going to type in business plan. And see what we get. And down the left-hand side here, we got a ton of them. And here we are. So I like this one at the top, big business strategy presentation. So I'm going to click on it. And all of a sudden, I've got 7 slides, beautifully done. And not only is the background and so on great, but it gives me some suggestions on how to actually create the business plan. There's the vision statement. I put in my bullet points. There's my goals and objectives. There's today's situation. How did we get here? And so on. So if I'm ever doing a new one that I've never done before, I'll take a look at it because these are very easy to modify. Now, one of the things that I haven't done with you yet is cover the screen and the different parts of it. So if we go up here at the top, we've got the standard ribbon with the home and so on. And then we've got our sections and our icons. If we go to the left-hand panel, and by the way, I can change the size of this, I've got all the slides in what we call the slide sorter view or a mini view. And I'll show you how useful that is in a minute. Here's my working area. And then down here, I have 4 icons. We are in now what is called the normal or the build mode. If I move over here and click, I'm in the slide sorter mode. Now, what's great about the slide sorter mode is I tend to create my presentations with, it has a structure, but the slides may be out of order. Well, that's no problem. I go to the slide sorter mode and I take that and I go there. Or I take that and I go there. So the ability to move things around and get it in the right order is really easy. If I go here to what's called the reading view, I get this. I have never ever used the reading view. And then of course, the last one, when I go over here, is the slideshow, which is that. And of course, once I do that, I'm just moving the down arrow key to do it. So there we go. Now, the next thing is I'm going to go back to the main view, and I could also change slides by going over here into this panel and doing that. If I'm only going to move it from here to here, I'm going to use this view. But if I'm going to go from here, let's say down 30 or 40 slides, I'm going to use the slide sorter view because it's easier to do. The choice is up to you. All right, so there's some basic design situations. I want to go now into one of, sorry, that's not where I want to go. Here to this one. And there's 25 slides here and so on. So I'm now going to introduce you to one of the first techniques to move between slides, and that's called transitions. And if I go here to the presentation view and I click, do you notice the jump? So instead of doing that, I'll go here to the transition tab, and I've got a whole series of transitions. So if we go to fade, and it's going to show you the example, it's going to do this. Did you see it fade in? Wipe. Brand of bars. Uncover. cover, flash, and there's a ton of them here. And I'm going to tell you this, I don't think I have used anything other than fade in the last 5 years because it's so smooth when it goes into it. So that's the start of what we call making your presentation look great. In the next advanced one that I do in September, I'll get into what more transitions, animations, the slideshow, and so on. So for a wrap today, I want to show you just a very short piece of a recent slideshow that I did. Thank you, Colin, for that kind introduction. Nancy and I sure wish we could be with you for the presentation this afternoon, but as many of you are aware, my traveling days are over and my last flight plan is closed. This afternoon is the culmination of a journey that for me started several years ago. I have long felt that there was a need each year to recognize the influencers who have made such an outstanding contribution to the Canadian bookkeeping world. That what you saw there, and there's some. There were another 20 slides. That the presentation was 4 minutes long, but it encompassed sound, music, voiceover, and backgrounds, all done in PowerPoint. And I think it's a pretty good indication of what you can do if you put your mind to it. So Marilyn, it's time for the next polling question.
It absolutely is. Thank you for that, Alan. All right, folks, your screen should be blue. You should see a question asking if you've ever used any of the following techniques in a PowerPoint presentation. Your choices are transitions, animations, voiceover, videos, or maybe music. They're a little slower on this one, Alan. I think they're marveling at what you showed them. We're now at 85%, folks, so I'm going to count you down to 90% at 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good. We've hit our mark. I'm going to share those results with you, Alan.
I'm interested in a couple of those, particularly the 18% and 24%. Voiceover, that's a great thing to put into a presentation. For example, I've done presentations where I've interviewed people and done a short interview as part of a presentation, and I'll show that next time. So it's now time, Marilyn, for you to switch over to Tom from Intuit. Take it away.
And I'll do that. Thanks so much. Okay, Tom, I'm just changing you to the presenter. And you're unmuted now. We see your screen. Looks like a beautiful skyline from Toronto.
Yes, hello everybody. Just finding my way here. If the sound is weird at all, just interrupt me, Marilyn. Cool, so hello everybody, my name is Tom. If you joined Alan Salmon's technology tour last October, you would have seen me from Intuit presenting some of the new stuff that we have going on. And I'm back here doing that again today. You'll see a little bit of stuff that we talked about back then and kind of an extension of it as we've kind of done some product development. So we'll hop right into it. My name is Tom. I go by Thomas officially, but if you find me on the Facebook groups, you can call me Tom. I'm the product marketing manager here at Intuit, and my role is the QuickBooks Online Accountant ecosystem. So that means that anything to do with QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Online Accountant, it's my job to let you know what's new, how it works, why it's relevant for you and your clients. And so I'm really the guy who might send you some really annoying emails, or at least provide the information for people who do. If you need to get in touch with me, if you have to leave before this or whatever, you can find me in the QBHQ and QBO and Quinty Facebook groups. If you're not in those, I'll show you at the end how to get in those. As well as I think there's some questions being forwarded to me from this presentation. Cool, so let's jump right into it. So today I've got 28 minutes now to run through some stuff of where Intuit's heading, and this might be a repeat if you attended Calgary, Vancouver, or our Toronto events, of kind of where we're investing at Intuit in Canada. What's new in QuickBooks Online? What's new in QuickBooks Online Accountant? Those are our little short forms for them. And then I'll give you a sneak peek at some cool things coming up next. All right, cool. So in Canada, we have our own developers, and they sit in Edmonton, and they do work for us specifically. So they don't do QuickBooks for the US, they don't do QuickBooks for Brazil, whatever. It's only for Canada. So we tell them what's the most important problems to Canadian accountant and bookkeepers. And so I'll show you kind of where we're focused as a business on and investing. And just to clarify, I am speaking today exclusively about QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Online Accountant. But with that in mind, QuickBooks Desktop is not dead. I get this question a lot, like, oh, you're putting so much investment in QuickBooks Online. What's happening to Desktop? When are you getting rid of it? It's not going anywhere. We're still investing in it. We're still adding new features to it every single year. So still a priority for us, but today we'll be speaking about QuickBooks Online. All right, so our 3 top priorities in Canada as it relates to QuickBooks Online. Number 1 is strengthen the core. You would have heard Scott Zandbergen speak about this if you saw him on stage. So we've heard from so many Canadian accountant bookkeepers. It's great you guys are putting in all these cool, shiny new features, but there's some fundamental issues that need to be fixed. And so that's where a lot of our investment is going. And specifically, as you'll see in the next 2 slides, where we're focusing on fixing the core and enhancing our services. The first is in our payroll, and that includes improving the existing QuickBooks Online payroll system and solution, and as well as investing in new payroll solutions, including QuickBooks Online Advanced Payroll, which I'll speak to briefly today. And sales tax is our other big investment priority. So those engineers that I spoke about in Edmonton, they're focused on sales tax and payroll on the QuickBooks Online side, and strengthening the core, making it a rock solid product that you can absolutely count on. So just kind of prefacing that. With that said, here's what we'll talk about today of what's new and what's coming. In QuickBooks Online, we'll speak quickly to quite a few sales tax updates that we've made, as well as what was recently announced in late 2017 about QuickBooks Projects. And in kind of the same vein, I'll give you a sneak peek into what will be coming out in the next couple of months, progress invoicing. Then over to the accountant side, I'll give you a run through with a lot of new features that we've made investing in practice management, and we now have a fully functional beta tested working version of QuickBooks Tax. If you don't know what that is, I'm very, very excited to tell you about it at the end. So stay tuned. We can see how attentive you are, so if I see you dropping below, I'll just drop some bad jokes or something. Marilyn knows how many I've got. Okay, cool. So let's jump into QuickBooks Online. We've made a number of improvements to sales tax. As I mentioned, this is our top priority on the QuickBooks Online side. So I'll run through these quickly, and then I'll jump into QuickBooks Online and I'll show you how they work. So very quickly, things that we've done, we've given you the ability to make sales tax rates inactive. You can now unfile sales tax returns, that should say, not transactions. You can add sales tax codes by customer. Don't worry, I know I'm going through this fast. I'm going to jump into the product and show you how it works. Journal entry is now published to the Sales Tax Center, and we now have Sales Tax and QuickBooks Self-Employed. So let's take a look at what all of these look like. I'm getting a little bouncing ball here. Hopefully this is nobody yelling at me. Marilyn, just jump in and stop me if there's a question. Okay, cool. So sales tax makes sales tax rates inactive. So to do this, you would go to the tax tab, and this is for if you have old rates in the system, or if a client added an incorrect tax rate, what you can do is you go into, from the Sales Tax Center, this Edit GST HST button at the top. You're going to click on Edit Rates. From there, you're going to see all of your active tax rates. So all you have to do, we've added these toggles so that you can just go in and toggle them off, just double check, yes, I want to do that, and it's gone. Now, what that means is that it's inactive. So any instances where that sales tax was used in a transaction, it is still fully functioning, but you don't see it every time you go to add a sales tax rate. If you need to reactivate it, you just go to this gear and go to include inactive. And there they all are, and you can see them again to reactivate them. Cool, so that's sales tax rates inactive. So the next one on our list, we had unfiling sales tax transactions. So if or sales tax returns. So if I go back to the tax return center, sometimes it's glitchy. There we go. Okay, so here are all my tax returns. So I can go, let's say that I've got a client who decides they want to go in and mess up their tax return. And maybe this has even happened to you where they thought that they could do it better than you could. The most recent filed return at the top here, if you click on the down arrow, you see this option, undo filing. If I click on that, it's going to, there we go. It's just gonna confirm, I'm gonna undo the filing, and it's going to reload. Perfect, so that unfiled return now becomes the open period, and I can see that as reopened tax returns at the bottom down here. Cool, so that is a really neat feature, especially if you need to go in and fix anything. Okay, next on our list, we had sales tax codes by customer. So as we all know, in Canada, tax rates are commonly determined by the customer location. And previously in QuickBooks Online, it was annoying to have to go and do this, or impossible in some cases. So you can now, for each your client's customers, have the tax rate set by their location. So let's say I'll pick a customer here. Let's go with Benjamin Young. Okay, from Benjamin Young, our customer, I'm going to click on the edit button here. Then I go to tax info, and I can press assign default tax code here. Now when I do that, I can set the tax code and will always default to this code for this customer. Perfect. So I'll hit save, done. Okay, now you're like, okay, I've got a ton of customers. I'm not going to do that for every single one. You can also go in and batch action that. So I can select all the customers, or I can choose certain ones, and then I can set the default tax code for all of those customers, or I can clear it for everybody so that it is start from scratch sort of thing. Another cool feature, and by the way, if you don't know Malika Hope, she is the one to thank for this. Definitely send her a message on Facebook and express how much you love it. Okay, and then most recently, which we're excited to announce, is the ability for journal entries to be accurately reflected in the Sales Tax Center. So previously, if I was creating a journal entry to a sales tax payable account, it wouldn't show up in the Sales Tax Center here. It would require you to go into the return and make an adjustment. Now, and I'll show you if I go and create a journal entry here from the plus button. All right, actually I need to double check what period I'm in here. Okay, 2014 November, perfect. So I'll go to my journal entry, and I will preface right now to everybody, I am not an accountant. So if I'm doing very ridiculous accounts that don't make any sense, please forgive me. Okay, so I'll go to debit of $600, and I'm gonna make a sales tax rate. Why aren't you showing? Put a customer on this maybe. All right, and it's not showing my sales tax for some reason. This is just common for any demo that things don't work when you try to show them. So let me try that again. I swear to all of you, I was testing this before I tried this to make sure that it actually worked. Okay, let's go back. What was that? 2014 November, I believe we had it at. Perfect. All right, let's pick another one here. Let's try it again. Not gonna work. Maybe I deleted the sales tax. Well, in any case, what will happen when you do it in yours, not mine, because it's a test file and sometimes doesn't have all the information, your clients it will work for. When you do that, you'll be able to go into the return and you will see that your journal entry is reflected in the line items here of your return. And that's really important, of course, so that it syncs up with the balance sheet. I promise you it works. Go check it out in yours. And then finally, as I mentioned, sales tax and QuickBooks Self-Employed. So this is the app that we've released for self-employed small business owners, and we've added the ability for them to have from incoming bank feeds that you can add sales tax into income and expenses. All right, cool. I'm checking out what I'm doing for time. Awesome. I think maybe this is a good time to do the "Are you paying attention?" check. So the question, I believe, for Marilyn is, for the fall webinar, what topics are you interested in? Marilyn, you want to tee that up?
Thanks, Tom. I will do that. Okay, folks. Alan is planning on doing some webinars in the fall, and we just like a little bit of your feedback on topics that are of most interest to you. Advised Excel, I'm going to put my hand up for that one. Haven't heard of that before. Power BI Desktop, Word, PowerPoint, or Outlook.
Marilyn, that should be advanced Excel. I can't spell.
All right, folks. I have heard of advanced Excel. You're doing very well. We're already at 80%. So I'm going to count you down so we can get you back to Tom. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thanks for that, folks. Just going to share the results very quickly. Hey, look at that, Alan. Advanced Excel at the top of the list. Not a surprise. Thanks, everyone. We're going to get right back to Tom.
That's great direction, folks. Thanks so much.
Awesome. So, and thanks to Laura, I just took a quick glance at the questions who pointed out that I can't use the GST payable account for that journal entry. Thank you very much. And just a reminder, yeah, so that would be my, I got 65 on my university accounting 101, and that's why I didn't know how to do that properly. But don't worry, I do know QuickBooks, so that's what I'm here to talk about, not about accounting workflows, which is what you are all the expert in. I just want to jump back in very quickly to QuickBooks Online because I forgot to mention something new that we announced quite some time ago, but is still very cool if you haven't checked it out, and that's the Projects tab here. So projects can be activated through the gear menu and going in and setting the client active for projects. But in the project space, it's essentially where you can group income and expenses so that your clients can see how profitable any given project is. So if you do that, you can go into this project setting and add to your project invoices, expenses, time, estimates, etc. Or when you're creating a new entry, you can also choose. You can choose that customer project, and it will automatically populate into this project space. Okay, cool. So that's QuickBooks Online. What's new in a nutshell? One thing you'll notice I didn't mention is payroll. So payroll, we will get into more detail, and the reason I didn't mention it is because the product team is working on some exciting updates, and they wanted me to just mention to you that we are working on some new updates to QuickBooks Advanced Payroll and QuickBooks Online Payroll. So in case you don't know the difference, QuickBooks Online Payroll is the service that we've had for years, and it had some limitations. So last October, we released QuickBooks Advanced Payroll, and this is powered by WagePoint, which is a third-party app, which allows a lot more functionality. So depending on what your client's business requires, either of those two solutions should fit their payroll needs. They've made a number of improvements, stability improvements to both the advanced payroll and the payroll service. And just as for right now, just a reminder to say that we are investing heavily in this. And while there may be some bugs with it still, we are committed to making sure these are fixed and that it's an absolutely rock solid platform. Okay, so that's all I'll say about advanced payroll for now. And I'll show you at the end where you can hear about updates past this webinar. So let's hop into QuickBooks Online Accountant. So there's QuickBooks Online, and then there's QuickBooks Online Accountant. If you're not a user of QuickBooks Online Accountant, this is the space where you would go in and access your client file. All right, so the biggest thing we'll chat about is practice management. I mentioned that in Canada, we're investing heavily in sales tax and payroll for QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online Accountant, a lot of the development is done from the US, and we provide our input and stuff that we need built as it adheres to Canadian accounting practices. So let me jump into a different QuickBooks Online. So this is my QuickBooks Online Accountant. And I'll show you kind of all the latest updates that have happened in the last 6 months. And a lot of them relate to the practice management features. That's where the US is heavily focused on building in this part of QuickBooks Online. And the reason they're doing that is because QuickBooks Online allows so much integration and data movement back and forth. So having practice management space in here allows us to push updates and notifications all to this one space. So to get to our practice management space that we're building, it happens in the Work tab here on the left side. So if I click on Work, it looks a lot like what's called a Kanban board. And that means that there's projects in these little cards. And we've organized it by today, this week, next 30 days. This is where you would go to manage your tasks, assign tasks to your employees or your partners, whatever, as they relate to your clients. So this is all synced to your QuickBooks Online or not QuickBooks Online clients. So let's go through just creating a new project, and while I'm doing that, I'll show you some of the new features. So let's say I've got a new client, and I'll say this is client onboarding, and the client is, I don't know, Joe. So when I create this new project for this new client I've got coming on, actually let's make it Tom because that's what my fake account is. And I'll assign this to a customer. So I've got all my clients here. I can assign that to Tom's company, that my client, or I can assign it to my firm if my entire firm needed to look at it. That's a new feature. Or let's say I've got a client that's not a QuickBooks Online client. I can just add a new one and say, Tom. Here's my new client, and it's Tom at fake.com. I don't know. So this is great because you can now use this practice management space for QuickBooks Online customers or non-QuickBooks Online. So for this client onboarding, let's say that I want it done by the end of the week, and it doesn't repeat. I can make it repeat if I want in any interval that I choose, but I think this is just a one-time onboarding. Now I can assign it to anyone in my firm. In this case, this client's only active to me, but if I chose, let's say, Tom's company, I could assign it to one of my other team members that has access to this client file. So I'll assign it to Candace. Now, there's another new feature that we just launched, and it's the Slack integration. If you haven't heard of Slack, it's being called the email killer. Lots of firms are getting on board and using this, and I'll just swipe over and you can see what it looks like. This is Slack, and we use this at Intuit to communicate with each other. So this is for if I wanted to send a direct message to my team members about something, especially if you're not in the same office, this is convenient. And it's also where you can have discussion space and really cuts down on the amount of email that you send. I try to avoid email completely, so this is really awesome for me, and I've heard a lot of people like it. So what happens with the integration of Slack back to my practice management space, I'll just turn off my notifications. When I create a new project, I get notified in Slack. There it is. So in Slack, it pops open with a notification saying that a new project has been created for client Tom's company. And I know that because in my Slack channel here, Tom's company has lit up. And so that means that there's something new for that client Tom's company. So let me see, okay, new project, client onboarding for Tom's company, and it's assigned to a different teammate. If I click on that, it will take me back into this practice management space, open it up, and show me who that was assigned to, what the task's all about. This is really useful if you've got, if you're an accountant, you've got bookkeepers doing tasks, or if you've got other team members, you want to keep an eye on what tasks there are. So I can just see right here, okay, this is assigned to Candace, great. Now, if Candace is working on this and she sets this to done, well, oh, perfect. I'm going to see that Candace has marked that as done. I don't have to worry that that task got missed. Now, if I ever want to go into practice management here and say, okay, did Candace get all of her work done? I can choose Candace as the team member, and it will filter by all of the projects that Candace has. So this is her project. It's in progress. Or I can filter by client. So I can have my clients, I can have tasks for just the firm, a specific client. And I can even see all of this in a list view for a long-term view of everything that's happening, done or in progress. And there's tons of filters here to see it exactly how you want. So this is a really, really cool feature because now you can just keep on top of everything that's happening, all assigned to your clients so that you know where everything is and you don't have to worry about anything falling through the cracks. Like I said, we're investing a lot in this space, so you're going to see more and more development happening into this workspace. I mentioned non-QuickBooks Online customers. Make sure you realize that this is not only for QuickBooks Online customers to deal with their tasks, but also for any other clients you have on QuickBooks Desktop or Sage or whatever. We'd hope that you can come in here and manage your whole practice. And the reason you would do it in here is because of this deep integration between QuickBooks Online and Slack. And we are investing more, that you'll be seeing more things coming here, like it'll automatically show you from QuickBooks Online when payroll is due, unaccepted transactions, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of fun stuff that we're working on with this workspace. So stay tuned. All right, where did my presentation go? Cool. Okay, there's tons more. I've got 7 minutes, I think. So I'm gonna see if I can get through this. There's so much stuff that we are working on. I can't get into all of it, but we are putting out launches and releases to QuickBooks Online every single week. There are so many teams working on so many things. You're gonna see a lot of updates happen. And it can be a little daunting to keep up with it. But there's a couple ways you can do that, which I'll reveal at the end. Before we get into that though, a couple things to just keep your eye out for coming up in the next 6 months. I can't say if it's sooner or later than that, but just next 6 months. Okay, so big one that's been exciting for a while is progress invoicing. This is kind of in the same vein as QuickBooks Projects, which I talked about earlier, but this is the ability for your clients to bill multiple times throughout a project. So for an estimate, let's say they wanted to bill every week, they could set invoice to 10% of the estimate every week. So that's really useful if you're a landscaper or whatever and you want to just bill over the course of that project. So that's really exciting. It's coming out very soon. Stay tuned. And I hope I've left enough time to get into this, which I'm very excited about. And this is QuickBooks Tax. I revealed it on Alan Salmon's technology tour last October, but we've done so much since then, and so I hope I can take you through it very quickly. So I'll hop back over to my QuickBooks space. You'll notice that I've got something which you might not have. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you do want to get into Slack, go to slack.com, check that out. It's free, so you don't need to pay to use it until you get into like more complicated features. So anyways, go take a look at that. It is free if you want to try it out. Okay, but you'll notice in my QuickBooks Online account, I have a line here called tax returns. Tax returns is our online professional tax preparing tool. Right now, it works for T2 corporate returns only, and we are building it for release this fall. So you will hear more about it. How it works is you've got your QuickBooks Online customers, and again, you can use it for non-QuickBooks Online, but it's even better with QuickBooks Online. So I've got, let's say, one of my clients, and if you haven't used this, this is the work papers feature. This is where you do your year-end in QuickBooks Online account for that client. So you would go in here, you would do all of your year-end work, and for a corporate return, you would do your Giphy mapping in this space. It will automatically map all of the Giphy codes to this account, to all the accounts. You can add your working papers in here, and then when you're done, you can save the Giphy file directly from within QuickBooks Online. I'm not going to get too much into that so that we can talk about QuickBooks Tax. So I'll jump back to my practice. When you've done that, you've got your Giphy file ready to go. In the Tax Returns tab, this is where when you start a new return, it might not work because I just canceled one of these companies. When you pull in that company's, actually, let me switch over to a different account. When you pull in that company's working papers or work papers, that Giphy file, it will automatically populate the S100 and the S125 with the Giphy data. So that's what that means. When I hop into one of these returns, you can see I haven't put in anything manually on any of these returns. but it will automatically go in and it would populate. Okay, this one doesn't have any data, but it would populate the S100, S125 completely for you. So it's awesome. It just does it automatically. Within this space, you can go and fill out your T2 return. You can add schedules as you need them. We are currently supporting over 50 schedules and we're adding more all the time. And you can fill your T183, send that to your client. And just like Profile, we've got an auditor built in that will highlight any potential errors or things that you might have missed. Now, the reason why we're doing this is because that movement of data from QuickBooks Online to work papers to QuickBooks Tax is seamless. And having that data means you don't have to have 2 other pieces of software to do your year end and your taxes. It also means that we can do things like we can automatically populate the taxable balances at the top here. In the future, we're going to be able to tell you at any point during the year what your client's expected tax obligation is. And from right here within QuickBooks Online Accountant, you'll be able to e-file directly to the CRA. So it's all within one flow. People who have been using it so far, we've had, today I checked, there have been, again, we've only got this in beta and a couple hundred people are in using it. We've had 46 successful e-files. We've been certified by the CRA for Alberta AT1 and federal T2. We've got so much more coming out in the next 12 months. I can't tell you anymore, but it's so, so exciting. So please stay tuned to hear more about QuickBooks Tax. We will be revealing it this fall. Okay, just a teaser. So if you want to hear about anything that we've released, anytime we put out a new feature related to QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Online Accountant, head over to quickbooks.ca/released. I personally update this page every time something new goes out, even if it's something pretty small. But you want to hear about it, go check about it here. The other place that you can hear about updates, other than your email in the newsletters that we send every month with all the latest updates, you can go to these 2 Facebook groups, which I, again, personally post anything new that happens, QBO in Quinty or QBHQ. These are awesome groups to be in regardless, but somewhere where you can go and learn more about what's new in QuickBooks. All right, so I know I'm getting to time. If you had any questions throughout this that are specific to your client or something technical, this is the place to go and get more information or help. Call us, chat with us. We're always happy to help. Please get in touch. Thank you for listening. And if you need to get in touch with me personally, those Facebook groups, which I mentioned, are the place to go. All right, Marilyn or Alan, I'll pass it back over to you because I think I'm at time.
Great job, Tom. Thanks for that. Everyone who's submitted a question or comment or feature suggestion, please know that that has been documented and we'll be sending that off to Tom after we finish. So I'm just going to push it back over to Alan for the wrap up. Let me know if you want me to do the last poll, Alan.
Yeah, I think we should do that now, Marilyn. Please.
To do that. So folks, you'll see the last poll is coming on your screen. Alan might be taking a bit of a break. It's hard for me to imagine, but he, he says that he will. If there were some other folks from our K2 team leading you in our mini webinar series, would you like to join us? We hope you will. So your choices are yes, no, and of course there's maybe. Lots of speedy responses to a nice short question. Thanks everyone. I'm going to be counting you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm closing the poll, Alan. And there we go.
Well, that helps us with our fall planning. Now, as I do the wrap, I understand that a few of you, I had problems with the videos, and for that I apologize. This is the first time I've attempted to do that. However, when you get the recording, it will be clean and the videos will be very, very clear. So that's a wrap. I hope to see all of you next Monday when I do some more advanced Excel calculations. It's a wrap, Marilyn.